This Week 8 matchup might be the closest thing we've seen so far as a preview to a potential Super Bowl this season, as Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals fly to Levi Stadium and play Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. And so that little pause there, it's Levi Stadium, right? I was like realizing that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait, was that the old stadium? I can't remember. That doesn't matter. So, but anyways, I do still
Candlestick was the old stadium.
Oh, yeah, that was a bad one. So, but both these teams are, I can still confidently say are Super Bowl winning teams. I don't want to play either team in January. I don't want to over-exaggerate the 49ers 2 losses in a row now, but when I say it's like, but both teams have not been playing up to Super Bowl caliber expense. And I mentioned the 49ers specifically just because they have dealt with some injuries, losing Deebo Samuel for essentially the past 2 games. He didn't really play much at all in the Cleveland game with his hairline fracture. There were several other injuries as well that I think that affected that Cleveland Browns game. I also think, too, those injuries did affect a little bit of the outcome of the Vikings game, even though the Vikings did play really well. So when I say that they haven't played up to Super Bowl caliber, it is kind of almost more geared a little bit towards Cincinnati. I still feel like they're doing their early season Cincinnati things. But coming off a bye, going up against a legit Super Bowl contender, the 49ers, you really don't want to lose this game and now go back to below 500 as they're sitting on 3-3 of the season. What are your overall thoughts on the Bengals up to this point, 49ers up to this point, and what each team has to do to win this game?
So for me, the Bengals need to come out. Joe Burrow needs to be healthy. I mean, if he's not healthy at this point, he's not going to get healthy throughout the rest of the year. And if he's not healthy against this 49ers pass rush, then he's going to be hurting real bad after this game. So that for me, I think, is the big thing. They need to keep Joe Burrow clean, give him time to get the ball to his weapons. I think T. Higgins, he's not on the injury report from today, so that means
he did end up playing before their bye.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Against the Seahawks. Yeah.
I know he played, I know they were talking about him playing a very limited role, but I didn't actually think he played.
He might have been on a snap count, but I remember seeing vividly the sleeper app said T. Higgins active.
Okay.
For Week 6 matchup.
Well, then that's really good. So hopefully his rib injury is doing well, especially after an extra week off. But then defensively, I've actually been really impressed with the Bengals. They've kind of adopted a bend, don't break strategy. In the Seahawks, they had 3 trips to the red zone with no points. And for me,
like watching the Falcons.
Yeah. For me, the San Francisco team, they've been susceptible the last couple games to one, letting Brock Purdy get hit, and 2, Brock Purdy's been putting the ball up for grabs a little bit more than usual. And so it's just an interesting little dilemma going on there. And if I'm the 49ers, I'm trying to adopt the same thing, the same strategy, right? Keep Brock Purdy clean, let him have time to get the ball out to the weapons. Deebo Samuel is going to be out, so Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, still 3 elite weapons right there to get the ball to. So I think both teams are going to have their hands full. I think this is going to be the lowest scoring shootout we've ever seen.
If that makes any sense at all. I think that's a good segue to my thoughts on this. It's like 49ers they still haven't given up more than 23 points in a game this entire season. That was a week 2 against the Rams, which they won that game. So the Bengals then, I think, if they haven't figured out that offense or just have become that explosive Bengals team that we're used to seeing, I don't see them like scoring more. I mean, maybe they get to 24, but this 49ers defense is still one of the best in the league as well. I think actually, then where are they at in the overall sack count? They should be up there. They only have 15 sacks on the season so far, so a little more than two a game. But then when it does come to their overall blitz percentages, this is what I think is super impressive for why this defense is so great just in general, is they have the second least amount of snaps blitzed per game. So it was 17.3 blitz percentages overall of all the defensive snaps. And that, to me, I think will show is like they can rush Nick Bosa. They can rush just 4 guys while Fred Warner and company drop back into coverage and make it very difficult for these teams like Cincinnati with elite receivers and an elite quarterback to pick apart this defense. So I think that is going to be very interesting to kind of see how that chess match ensues. One thing I will say that concerns me for the 49ers is, and I mentioned this before, just a concern for them, is the overall lack of depth. I know Christian McCaffrey's probably the best running back in the league. Deebo Samuel's the best gadget receiver in the league. George Kittle's one of the best tight ends in the league as well. But then that's where, and so when I say there's a big drop off, and then Brandon Ayuk is developing into a really good receiver as well. But so I know when I say there's a big drop off, like obviously those guys are top in the league. But I think this is one of the things with those injuries, though. We're seeing the massive gap. So somebody needs to step up during this time that Deebo Samuel's out, Juwan Jennings or Ronnie Bell or one of these guys needs to step up and become that consistent target for Brock Purdy and this offense to kind of recover those snaps and recover those targets and that yardage. Just because I think that's you go and look at some of the stats from the previous games, there really was only 5 target receivers or running backs, so to say, that Brock Purdy would throw to on a consistent basis. Maybe Elijah Mitchell would get a target, or maybe Ronnie Bell or Juwan Jennings would get a target, but that was pretty much it. So if those guys keep going down or struggling with injuries, it's going to have an overall effect on the 49ers season if that keeps continuing. I'm not too concerned right now. I mean, sometimes teams just go through a bad stretch, and hey, as a Braves fan, I'd much rather see my team go through a bad stretch in the middle of the season than unlike how they go through a bad stretch in late September, early October. That's no fun because then that means that you're losing game season. So for the 49ers to go through this now, figure it out, try and get healthy, I think in the long run will have a net positive for the team. So that's why I'm not too panicked. But you don't want to have these like lingering season-long injuries that everyone's dealing with, especially with this offense, which is so fine-tuned to be around these 4 to 5 specific players. So I say all that, and I kind of want to throw it over to you then for prediction. But before we do that, if you're still here with us, thanks for watching and coming to this point. Like this video if you can, and also subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of getting to 2,000 subscribers by Halloween. It's only less than a week away by the time of the releasing of this video. So it's the easiest way to help us out. It's also the easiest way for you to get notified whenever new Tracy Take content is released. We do prediction videos on every single game throughout the entire season. And 2024 is going to be a lot of fun with our off-season content. So subscribe, easiest way to get notified. And Ryan, I'll throw it over to you here. Who do you have winning this game, the Bengals or the 49ers?
I'm actually going to go with the Bengals here. I feel like that's probably the unpopular opinion. I just think Joe Burrow, he's going to be the healthiest he's probably been all year with a week off here. And these weapons, the 49ers struggled to contain the Minnesota Vikings weapons without just Jefferson. And like, the Bengals have 2 receivers that are better than Jordan Addison right now. And the Bengals, they have a decent run game as well. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be an interesting game. I said it earlier. I'm going to say that this is going to be the lowest scoring shootout we've ever seen. I'm going to say it's going to be 24-21 Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you said that because I really wanted to pick the 49ers. And I'm glad you said that. So it means I can pick opposite of you because we haven't picked two opposite much this week so far.
No.
But I'm going to go with the 49ers. When it comes to your run statistic as well, the Niners have one of the best run defenses so far in rushing yards allowed per season at 555 through 7 games, which is extremely good. Then they've only given up 3 rushing touchdowns. They have given up a little bit more in passing yards, but to be fair, though, they are also leading a bunch in these games, so there's a lot of garbage time yards. Also, too, they did give up just like 375 passing yards to Kirk Cousins, and that is about a fourth of the passing yards allowed that they've had so far. So maybe it's an outlier. Let me double-check that stat, actually. Yeah, 1565. So, yeah, about close to a fourth, I would say, of passing yards allowed. All just in one game. So I think that might have been maybe a little bit more of an outlier and just a great performance by Kirk Cousins and that Minnesota Vikings defense. We'll say that on the flip side, I think that being at home, Niners losing 2 in a row, I think they're going to figure some stuff out. I think they're definitely going to show up for this game as well. CMC, I think, is going to have a good game. Brock Purdy's going to figure some stuff out. Kittle's going to come alive, and Ayuk as well, especially in Deebo Samuel's absence. So I think it's going to be a good game. I feel like it's going to be a 28-21 San Francisco victory.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we disagree on this one, but let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead. And in this matchup, is it going to be the Cincinnati Bengals? Is it going to be the San Francisco 49ers? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.